this, Combs' ex-girlfriend Jane, her story painted a similar picture to Cassie Ventura's in chilling detail. Jane described enduring drug-fueled sex marathons until the hip-hop mogul's arrest in September. What was so different about Jane's story from Cassie's?
The common thread that I think runs through Miss Ventura and Jane is that belief, that internal belief, that they honestly believe they can't leave. They have no agency.
Jane's testimony really shared testimony and examples of Jane being in love with Diddy, also jealous, but the testimony elicited really showed that she, different than Cassie, liked to actually use the freak-offs to reward or punish Diddy.
I want to talk about Jane because she was on the stand longer than Cassie.
She was.
And she described her relationship as complicated. Even today, why do you think Jane's testimony was so problematic?
Well, let me start out by saying I think that any victim who is claiming abuse should be given an opportunity to tell their story. Having said that, I think she came across as someone who was looking for benefits, someone who was in the relationship because she wanted an expensive home, because she wanted to buy expensive bags. She wanted that lifestyle.
Jane's testimony may have been anonymous in court, but online, nothing stayed private for long. The Sean Diddy Combs trial became a trending topic, a magnet for influencers to follow the case. Some even crossed the line, exposing Jane's identity and turning her trauma into content.
A number of influencers felt that, because they weren't in the courtroom, that it was totally fine for them to name Jane and out these witnesses. But the problem is that it totally defeats the purpose of why they're there testifying under anonymity in the first place.
What followed was a digital feeding frenzy.
I just spent 8 hours in a room with Diddy.
One was back on the stand to finish cross-examination. Day 2 of the Diddy trial, you could hear a pin drop.
TikToks, live streams, YouTube videos. Everyone seemed to have an opinion, but few had expertise.
Her attorneys were really brilliant. They didn't sue just Diddy, they sued his corporation.
Simone Redwine was one of the few influencers who used her knowledge of the law to break down the Combs case.
Part of the challenge is that these influencers don't have legal backgrounds. So sometimes when they share misinformation by misapplying the law to the facts, it can create issues because people feel that the defendant isn't getting a fair trial.